Well, thank you all for coming here in person and also virtually. So this is one of the Denver Marketo user group sessions. We try to do something every month, either virtually or in person. We love the virtual ones or the hybrid ones so that people can attend from anywhere as well. So just a couple of housekeeping slides to go through. Thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
So there are some house rules for our user groups. We try to keep this a safe space to share like your experiences and also not get sold to. So I think that's one of the main rules is like no promotion of your your company, yourself. Like definitely you can network, obviously, talk about yourself, but no like actual self promotion in terms of like business. And always ask for consent to connect with people. So with the mug leaders especially, we love to connect on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to us, and we definitely encourage that. And if anybody shares any of their experiences, like their use cases, that is what stays here, or what happens here stays here, right? So please don't share that outside the group. So awesome. Okay. And we will be recording this session, so we'll turn off the recording during the Q&A, so you feel comfortable asking more questions and everything, and sharing your experience as well. But this will be posted on our YouTube channel to reference later. And if you're not already, you should join our bevy group for our chapter. So you can go to mugs.marketo.com/DenverMug and do that. We also have a LinkedIn group that you are welcome to join once you've joined the bevy chapter. And we have additional discussion there, and connect with people between sessions too. So okay, just a couple of opportunities we're going to run through. This just opened. The Experience Maker Awards submissions are open. So a really great opportunity to showcase your success at your company. There are 9 different categories. Definitely check it out. If you are one of the finalists, or if you win, there's a fun gala at Summit and in Vegas, yes. And it's a really great experience. Looks really good. Definitely something to check out if you're interested. Hey, there are some office hours coming out on interactive webinars. I don't know how much experience everyone has with interactive webinars in Marketo, but cool new feature. And the product team is like making themselves available to you to answer any and all questions during these office hours. So you can sign up there. You're definitely, if you want to learn by yourself first, definitely some demos and tutorials as well too. And the skill exchange was this morning, actually. So I hope you could all attend that. It was great. Yeah. And the Marketo team has been doing a great job in putting together different essentially nurture programs for people who have inherited instances, and this new one is a new learning path for implementing a new Marketo Engage instance. So if you want to check that out, definitely give you kind of like step-by-step guidance. If you're about to build a brand new baby Marketo instance, there are lots of things to know, and that should be really helpful. Okay, we are not the only one. There are lots of them globally as well, so you can check out those. I'm so excited to see that Austin mug is coming back to life.
Kelsey, right? Who is the person? She's so good.
Robin is going to, yeah.
Ooh.
So got that, and
Japan.
a couple of other ones, yeah. So
Mexico.
There we go.
Wow.
Okay,
easy.
that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. And now I get to share slides with Reagan and my presentation. So I'll do the same thing. Make sure you can see it. And then Reagan, I'll hand it off to you once it loads, which it looks like it is. And I will take off presenter mode. Does it look like presenter mode on there?
So I see the old slides, or so just I see the Adobe slide, the end one.
It takes a second.
Okay.
I will wait and share
In
again.
there.
Ooh. All right.
There
Let me know if you see.
we go. It's getting there. Not
The Zoom
not
quit
yet.
unexpectedly.
Oh,
Again.
it's a take two.
Oh, yours did too.
No, yeah, I mean it says has started sharing screen, but I don't see anything.
Let's try it again. I hope that's not too much for it again.
Yes. Not sure.
All right, let me try a different way of sharing.
And maybe, Reagan, do you have the slides too? To share from your end?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And I will try again, but
Okay, you want me to give it a go?
one last go. I'll
Okay,
try.
okay. Come on, Zoom.
I guess this is like too big of a screen, too many pixels. Probably.
Maybe. It's a cool screen.
Mm.
Is it not flipping over? Okay, here. Looks like
This again.
okay.
All right, Reagan, I'm giving it my last go.
Okay.
Hopefully don't break it again. Can you see it now?
I can see
Yeah.
the Zoom. Yes.
Good. Okay. Phew.
Fantastic. Yay.
I don't know what our PowerPoint did to this thing.
Oh,
I'm presenting, so it might just take a sec. Okay.
okay.
And then she sees presenter mode, so let me turn that on. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Close this.
Also, thank you, by the way,
Thank you.
Christina. My name is Reagan Curry. Christina Schrofel there in person, hosting the user group. Today, we are going to cover a little endeavor that it was a multi-year endeavor. And I want to say we waited patiently for the outcome, but we, and this is what I just want to kick it off. This is our journey for an Informatica custom integration to help us with um, the backlog of campaign membership updates that we were facing in our Marketo instance. We integrate with Salesforce, and the sync just couldn't handle, I guess, our volume of campaigns and campaign membership. So here's a quick glance at the agenda. I'm going to just go pretty high level. Christina is, I'm going to say, the Einstein behind this project. She really helped drive it across the finish line, making sure we had the right resources. But it was indeed a very much a team effort. I'm a part of I'm our director of marketing technology within our market intelligence division of S&P Global, and I was our Marketo admin for years and years. And Christina is our partner on the technology front, supporting us with our Salesforce integration. And we had, yep, there's lots of heartburn and lots of headache. So this is our kind of our agenda. I'll go ahead and dive in, and we'll take you through who we are, how we got where we are. So Christina and I and a couple of folks in the room there are members of the S&P Global organization. You can read here kind of what we do from a service provider, but we provide information, data, credit ratings, benchmarks, et cetera, via a platform and products. But within the organization, there are multiple divisions, and we happen to be part of, or I happen to be a part of the market intelligence division. And we focus on the unrivaled insights and leading data for technology and solutions. So then kind of boiling it even further to the marketing organization within market intelligence, we, I just kind of read it off for those following along. We distill complex offerings into simple value propositions, leveraging AI and innovation to make meaningful connections and operating with excellence to drive scale and fuel growth of the division. We can continue on to the next slide. So the technologies we use. So at the core for marketing, we have Adobe Marketo Engage and Salesforce. And then I kept it pretty vague with this kind of cloud icon, but lots of other technologies plugging into these too. But specifically, our organization tends to drill into the Marketo Engage platform, integrating our solutions like webinar hosting platforms, hosted event platforms, social channels, and a couple of internal applications as well. So at the core of how we calculate our attribution and our marketing efforts is Marketo. And then we surface that via campaign syncing and people record syncing into Salesforce. And our campaign surfacing is kind of it's a one-to-one. So where it is in Marketo, we surface it in Salesforce. That is very important for our commercial organization. They look at the campaign memberships on lead records and contact records in Salesforce. So really how we are tracking engagement is through surfacing the campaign membership that we are recording in Marketo in Salesforce in campaigns. Now we also use Marketo Sales Insight as a tool, and you can you can never have too many tools, or although you could argue probably you could have too many tools for the sales organization. But this this allows us to, and I must also mention that we also have Marketo Measure, formerly known as Visible 2, to help with our attribution. So we kind of tackle it from all angles, but campaign membership was very, very important just because of our MQLs as they were coming in, in real time. We wanted to be able to show that marketing campaign connection. And what was happening is things were kind of backlogging for us. And so whenever a lead would pass through, it would be routed to sales, but you couldn't tell which campaign that person was a part of. So thank you, Christina. Here's that one-to-one syncing. And this is just a kind of a snapshot of our top channels and the different statuses. So this is what we're tracking. This is probably something that you're very much used to within your own instance. But I just wanted to kind of plug here, it varies by the channel and what types of statuses that we're tracking. But this is how, and somewhere in there too. So kind of from least important to most important. So not engaged to more engaged, just kind of if you want to follow the trail there. But just wanted to kind of give you a snapshot of what we're, the channels and the campaign types that we are updating in Marketo. So with that said, let's take a look at the next slide. So I, at this point, am going to hand it over to Christina to go into kind of the story behind how it began back 2017,
like
about
it.
7 years ago, yes. When we first started seeing these sync errors and kind of how we kicked off our search for for s- yeah, for solving our headache. So with that, Christina,
Thanks,
take it away.
Reagan. Thank you. So yeah, it was funny because when I was writing the slide up, I started working for S&P in 2019. So I thought it had only been since 2019. And then Reagan told me it's actually been happening since 2017. And then when I joined the team, one of the first things she reached out to was the fact that the Marketo Salesforce sync was like delayed and they didn't know why. And they were noticing like membership especially was taking days maybe at that point, but it might have been even more time to fully sync to Salesforce. And I remember like researching this and like getting inklings from other Marketo users that like this has happened to other larger orgs because they also have really big campaign membership that they're trying to sync. So like I find this one article that I was like, I can't remember who this person was with now that I think about it, but that was like giving me like an inkling of, okay, so this is happening to other people. It's not just market intelligence. It's not just MI. So it started like a very much a detective investigation on what we could do to make it better. And I felt terrible for Reagan and her team that they were dealing with this. And it was a lot of manual work to worry about how to have the data be accurate and reflected correctly in Salesforce from Marketo. Yeah, so during that research, knowing that they were experiencing sometimes month-long delays of campaign membership, updates and additions to Salesforce, it started my journey on understanding the way the Marketo Salesforce sync is prioritized, which is kind of really interesting, I thought, where like it stacks the important cues first. So it's lead, contact, account, opportunity, campaigns, then campaign members. So like it makes sense that if you're going to see a backlog, it's going to be on campaign member. And I'm not to say that leads and contacts and accounts and opportunities and campaigns aren't more important, but we still wanted that data from campaign members sync. So it was interesting knowing the back end of like how the Marketo Salesforce native sync works and like it made sense why that's where we were seeing the backlog. And the reporting was incomplete. So the metrics that Reagan and her team were trying to access were not showing the full picture. Reagan's team had to do manual updates. I think it was like daily or sometimes manually uploading to Salesforce, which takes time out of her
Multiple
team.
times a day. Yes, our analytics and reporting team who
Tirelessly working
Yes.
on that. That's crazy. Yes. And you know, if they could free up their time, that would be totally invaluable if the sync could just do it automatically like we want. And it's like a self-fulfilling issue because like it makes sense that the sync order would deprioritize campaign membership, but because it's such a large object to sync, it just constantly was not running through or cycling through that object. And then it would go back to the top, go through the rest and get to campaign member and barely get scratch the surface of getting through the backlog. And it just constantly was like feeding on itself, which like it felt very hopeless. So we tried to come up with options of what we could do to make it better. I did want to bring up the fact that we did do due diligence, and I think it's very important because this was our first kind of direction from Adobe and stuff, was that you should look at all of the records, seeing if there's any sync errors on those data values for those records, the leads or contacts. And make sure that you're updating the statuses within Salesforce, that they align with your program member statuses. That's all very important, and that sometimes can be a lot of the cause for like a backlog or sync to like stop running because of those errors. But we did do that. We definitely did that due diligence, but we're still seeing a backlog. So that's how we knew we had to look further. One time when I did reach out to Marketo support, so results may vary, but the support engineer did increase our pipeline briefly. I don't know if they do that all the time. Like sometimes they'll do it, sometimes it's rare. I don't know if I got lucky in 2019. That support engineer is no longer there, maybe. But I've asked for that sometimes. And they're nice about if you say, hey, we're gonna have an increase in volume, they'll like put it on and they'll note that you might need a little bump. But it's definitely not permanent. And I did find out in 2023 that you could pay an additional cost to have the increased pipeline, basically. That wasn't an option when we first were looking into it. So that was like by the time we had already investigated Informatica. So that is an option, but also it's money. So we also had Informatica. So we were like, let's just resource a team we already have a tool of and see if that would help. But I do think like large organizations like Market Intelligence, hopefully they're going to keep creating thousands of campaigns, hundreds of thousands of campaign members. So it's not like feasible to constantly deprioritize campaign member sync. And especially the fact that Reagan's team is using it for reporting. As the volume increases, it's going to keep stressing that sync queue. So we needed like a permanent solution. Another one that I thought was interesting, sharing some of the things that came by, you can, because we had a lot of calls with the Salesforce architects and like they were talking about the sync, like how that sync is set up, like the API call limit. We went into tons of discussions. They were asking if we could reprioritize where on the sync queue campaign member is, but that's not recommended. They basically said they would not recommend changing that sync priority. What they did do as an optimization was I found out that for backlogs from Marketo to Salesforce, we aren't able to split the operation push updates into multiple queues, but they can assign it to its own queue. And we did do that, but we still saw backlogs. But if you're smaller, that might be a good option too, because that's like probably little known that you could reconfigure the sync queues and put it on its own if campaign member is a problem. The other one that we've done, we tried to exhaust every place, but moving the watermark is another one. Like it's more for a one-off, like if you had a huge amount of data and you wanted to just manually do it or do something and then like move the watermark so that it's not getting caught on that one big data hole, you can move the watermark. But again, it's not like a long-term solution. The backlog for MI happened eventually again because they're just consistently shelling out campaigns and campaign members, which good for Reagan's team. That's awesome. The other one that I didn't know about until recently that I think is good also if it's like a one-time fix, you can, so when you're syncing the campaign or the program to the campaign in Salesforce through the setup tab, you can unlink it and relink it and it kind of like kickstarts it. They told us that is a good option, but again, that's a lot of manual work for Reagan's team. So not long-term viable. So after searching and doing all that due diligence, we did have conversations with the Salesforce architecture team and they kind of brought up Informatica is a great idea for maybe like alleviating some of our issues with campaign member sync, which was exciting. And I will give a huge shout out. Informatica team is amazing at our company. So we got to be part of their project and got prioritized, which was awesome. Gave us hope. And what Informatica has is a Marketo Connector App, basically. It was really exciting to like read through this guide, which I put here, because you can think of like future use cases. You can kind of think of things you've wanted to do with Marketo and Salesforce that you haven't been able to do, but you can with Informatica. The Informatica team did tell us like they use the Connector app, but you could also custom build a solution, which would be really cool too. So the Connector app has basic out of the box things you can connect Marketo to Salesforce with, but you could probably even unlock more, which was exciting. And we pinpointed on programs. And we pinpointed on pulling the campaign membership, putting it into Salesforce, taking that away from the native Marketo to Salesforce sync and just using Informatica. So we workshopped that with the Informatica team. one of the really cool things that I geeked out on, because I thought it was fun with the informatics team, was what they pull from Salesforce and Marketo from Informatica. Like, it really felt like I could look under the hood, because there were things that like I didn't know were mapped behind the scenes, because you just look at the Marketo UI and you're like, oh, I know that I can map this and this and this. And then under the surface, there's like all these fields. You can really like transform it however you want it to be. You can map, pull, put into Salesforce. It's very deliberate. Like, you can decide where you want it to map and the mapping of the objects. And it just felt really cool to like decide that and design it ourselves and architect it ourselves. Was really fun. So yeah, it was an awesome project that was really exciting to work on. And then the benefits of redesigning the campaign member sync was we get this report, which is awesome, from Informatica after the job processes, where it basically tells you any errors that happened. And it's such a level of detail that we didn't have, where before we had to, like, you would get one in the admin, you'd get like a notification that these records failed to sync. But like sometimes it wouldn't give you like full details. You couldn't get it down always to the record level. And this, we get a report. I think we get like 4 emails a day that and it goes to Reagan's team too. So if these need to be looked at, we catch it so much faster, where it was one time with the admin notification once at like 3 a.m. is what you get it out of the box. So much more ability to action on it quickly. And then also, we're no longer cannibalizing the out of the box Marketo Salesforce sync. It improved all the other sync queues. So you think about all the ones prioritized before, they don't have to worry about waiting to process campaign member, which would always trip it up. So it just like improved the sync quality because it was taken and given away to Informatica. The one part also, like, we definitely, as we're doing the object mapping, there's so much more flexibility. We could do more with program member custom fields, which I thought was cool when Marketo came out with that. And now, like, we could also use Informatica in the same job to just push it to Salesforce. We could do it with custom campaign fields. We could do it with custom Salesforce objects, which are normally like read-only. So it just felt like it breaks open all these possibilities that are normal sync limitations that we just accepted. So it's really exciting. And then also, Reagan and I were talking about this, because not to just rest on the laurels of it just improving this one very, very big issue, we were also thinking about what comes next. We think that with Informatica, we'll probably want to do more. So we'll want to think about extending or increasing our API limit. So we could have more Informatica jobs. I think right now we keep it to a certain level to stay under our API limit, but we could do more frequent pulls, more frequent jobs. We could flex it, so like temporarily increase it if we had a big processing to do. But yeah, all that comes into consideration. One of the things that like happened really recently was, because now we have more consistent Informatica pull from Marketo to Salesforce campaign member, we're able to create flows off of that trigger, where one of the examples that someone on Reagan's team also was wanting to do was to be able to have like full picture analytics. So it'll match based on the campaign membership in Salesforce, pull any leads or contacts. If it's a contact, it'll find any leads with the same email and put it in the campaign. And that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have a functioning campaign member sync. It's just a really cool possibility that's unlocked that we can do for the future. And it also can trigger off of like the campaign member status. So as it becomes MQL, we can then search, trigger that in Salesforce with a flow, and add it to the membership. And then for other future states, we have an intentional duplicate question that we're definitely working with the Salesforce team on, where we do not want intentional duplicates, but we also want to see all that activity. We're thinking maybe put a custom object on the lead and then use Informatica to push that information onto a custom object, which wouldn't have been possible because you can only read only in Salesforce, but Informatica changes all that. So we're thinking through it still. Nothing nailed down yet, but that's an exciting possibility. And then again, program member custom fields. We could run that with the same job we have, which would be cool because we could also get past that 20 limit. We could do however many fields we want. And I could totally see Reagan's team coming up with some cool stuff with that. I'm sure there are more possibilities for MI to think about that. But yeah, I know that was a fun project and I can't believe it was so long in the making, but it's really exciting. So yeah. Thank you.
Pause recording so we can.
Sure.
Q&A then.
Awesome.